Welcome back. It's a Week 11 recap. I'm Nate. That's Tony. Today we're going to be talking about what we learned in Week 11 of the 2023 NFL season from a regular fantasy football standpoint or a regular football standpoint. And then we will be reviewing some trade deadline trades that ended up happening. We had some choice words in one of our leagues, and it made me start thinking about trades and trade deadlines and stuff like that. We're going to be drafting our top 5 worst NFL trades that still have an impact in today's game. We'll leave you with a rant and a rave and a banger for the week. But Tony, as always, top of mind for you. What is on top of your mind?
The weather. It's almost December here in Colorado, and I believe we've had one real snowstorm. And I use storm lightly there. I don't even remember getting like a delay for work. But I'm just grateful, I guess, that the weather's been so nice. I know we're setting records for highs and all that. But while we're on our way to the complete destruction of planet Earth, I'm going to enjoy the year-round pickleball weather here in Colorado. I'm grateful for that.
Dude, today was fucking freezing. Like, I flew to DC this last weekend on Saturday. I came back Sunday morning right before, 30 minutes before kickoff so I can set my lineups and stuff like that. We got priorities and everything like that. But when I got back, I was like, oh, it is bitter cold. And then I got home and I was like, yo, it's freezing. This morning I wake up and there's snow coming down and I'm like, what the hell? It's freezing outside. And then there's like 60-mile-per-hour winds out where we work. And I ended up going out there for like an hour and I was like, I'm going home. I'm going home. So
gale force winds.
It was bad. Like, it was carrying my body bad. And then,
but this is like the second cold front or whatever that we've had roll in. It's been crazy.
Yeah. And then when you're driving on that highway to get back to like the town area or whatever like that, like I was driving at like a 30-degree angle with my tires because it was just pushing my car. It was crazy. I was like, it's my first winter working out there, so pretty wild. But top of mind for me, I might become a prestigious internet troll, Tony. Tonight.
You're not already?
I don't know. I might just turn my personal account at DataRave530 into a troll account. Like, it's so good. As everybody who watches this thing knows, I'm a very, very much a Zach Wilson truther, believer, empathizer. Kind of hard for a quarterback to do much when your offensive coordinator is running vertical routes into cover 4 against the Buffalo Bills as well. And like every route is 15 yards down the field, nothing over the middle's wide open, and you throw a pick. Whoop-de-fucking-do, right? A la Russell Wilson last year. But I digress. I think that's the right word. Tonight, Philadelphia Eagles are playing the Kansas City Chiefs, and I put out a tweet, and it's the middle of the third quarter, probably like 5 minutes left. I can't believe the Eagles are staying with a quarterback in Jalen Hurts who only has 55 yards passing midway through the third quarter and has taken 5 sacks for 26 yards. This defense deserves better. And then use all the hashtags, right? Got some good response out of one account, Baltimore Ravens fan, after doing some investigation out there. Name says nibbling, but it is at God is a parasite. You aren't actually stupid, right? Your advice to bench your superstar quarterback who you just gave $255 million to due to a few quarters of bad play and kill his confidence going forward? You've never played a single snap of football, have you? LMAO ? Clown emoji. God is a parasite. Thank you for becoming part of the show. I'll be sure to tag you whenever I post this out on Twitter. I might be like a famous internet troll going forward, Tony. That kind of made my day when I read it, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is so good."
I had a hankering suspicion you were going to comment on that.
It was so good. I was like, this is all the same talk we get about Zach Wilson. Oh my God, we got to watch this in prime time. Yeah. Oh my God, it was so good. Like, couldn't see the satire in that. So.
No.
Oh man, it was. So
he just scrolled right past my stupid dead face gifs that I posted. That dude.
Oh man, I think you had posted something too on it, and it was pretty funny. You posted a Ryan Reynolds gif, and I was like, "This team is a Super Bowl contender, and are being held back right before our eyes." Zach Wilson and Sam Darnold are going to win Super Bowls before the Jets ever do, and it's going to be great. So let's move on to the sports. What we learned in week 3, Tony. I'll let you go first. Hopefully we didn't pair up because we did not share notes.
No coordination whatsoever, so we probably cross streams. We'll see. There's a lot of parity in the NFL. What that means is the difference between the good teams and the bad teams is not like it is in college sports or even, other professional sports. On a bad day, any NFL team can lose to a 1 or 2 win team. We see it happen every single season. It's kind of wrecked our picking winners lines over there on the other show. So this lesson applies to the Detroit Lions. You cannot be as careless as they are with the football and expect to win, compete for a division, playoff spot, all of that. They sit atop the NFC North. However, coming up, they have Green Bay, New Orleans, Chicago, Denver, Minnesota twice, and then Dallas in between those Vikings games. What I'm doing, treading lightly, betting this team. It is not a sure thing with them, despite the record and where they sit in that division. And 4 turnovers. 3 of those were an interception. 1 was a fumble by Goff. That's going to be a guaranteed loss against most teams. Not the case with the Bears, but the Bears did almost win that game. They took a late drive to get that W from the Lions.
They were down 2 scores with 6-7 minutes left or whatever like that.
Yeah, most teams bury them, so can't hold on to the ball like that.
If only somebody would say that the Detroit Lions stink and can't beat a good team. So I don't know. Maybe you'll hear that on Picking Winners. My number 1 is going to be, last week I talked about Christian Kirk versus Calvin Ridley. I think I cracked the code. I learned something this week because Calvin Ridley went off, right? I was like, hey, we got to rethink this when we're drafting next year. I figured it out. When Zay Jones is healthy and on the field, Calvin Ridley goes off. Zay Jones has only played in 4 games this season, and that is week 1, week 2, week 5, and week 11. In week 2, he hurt his knee against the Chiefs, but in week 1, Calvin Ridley, he was wide receiver 6 with 24 points, and this is PPR scoring. In week 5, he was wide receiver 9 with 20 points. In week 11, wide receiver 1 with 31 points in PPR. That's even better than what Tyreek Hill did. Kind of crazy, right? But in week 2, he had 5.2 points, and Zay Jones was injured with a knee. So that's about half the game, right? Or whatever like that. I think he came back in the third quarter, but wasn't himself. But all other weeks, Calvin Ridley absolutely stinks. He's averaging about 7.5 points per game. I don't know what it is. I didn't get to watch a lot of this film or anything like that. I kind of saw parts of the game here and there, but because it was an early game and I was driving and I had to watch Red Zone on my phone in my car. So I put it in the dashboard and I'm trying to drive down the highway and stuff. And so I didn't get to see everything with that game, but I think it's a telling thing of what Zay Jones possibly opens up. I know you've talked about prior episodes about how Zay Jones opens up this offense and what the Jaguars are able to do, but it directly impacts the fantasy scoring for a guy like Calvin Ridley. It might be something that we could take advantage of in the betting markets, but going back to that, hey, Calvin Ridley is kind of more of a flex thing. I don't think that's true anymore if Zay Jones is on the field, but if Zay Jones is off the field, that. More to report later on, but something that came to mind when looking through box scores and stuff like that and what was happening.
Yeah.
So
we have a lot of data points now. We're rolling into week 12, right?
Yeah.
But without Zay Jones, I have a couple of bullet points because I found that one interesting too. Without Zay Jones, Calvin Ridley has a 17% target share. With Zay Jones in the lineup, he has a 25% target share. Yeah. Weird, more competition. Without Zay Jones on the field, he's averaging 3 catches a game for 36 yards, 0.2 touchdowns a game. With Zay Jones on the field, 6 catches for 89.5 yards and almost a touchdown a game.
Yeah.
The numbers don't lie. Like he does so much better with Zay Jones. I don't know what it is. I didn't look at the teams they played in those matchups. Maybe that has something to do with it, but Zay Jones is on the field. I think that offense just moves a lot better. He maybe has more opportunities. I don't know.
Yeah.
We need to dig a little further, I think.
Yep. Dig.
My next one.
Yep.
Next one. We've been championing. You're not going to like this one. Supporting, whatever you want to call it, for Zach Wilson. I don't think that's warranted any longer. Obviously, there's a lot to glean from this past week, but on the season, the Jets are 9th in passing protection rate. That's pretty good. They're giving Zach Wilson some time to throw despite the banged up line. We've talked about how bad that offensive line is. They're doing an okay job in pass protection. Got some Zach Wilson stats, Nate. Are you ready?
Always ready.
All right. 25th in QBR, 22nd in passing yards, 30th in touchdowns, 31st in completion percentage, 30th in clean pocket completion percentage. So how he's completing passes when there's no pressure. 31st in passes that are turnover worthy. That's not great. 29th in catchable pass rate. 28th in passer rating against man. 32nd against zone. For the fantasy managers out there, if you still exist in a super flex or something, he's 23rd in expected fantasy points per game. 3.21 below his expected total per game. I don't think there's any way around it. There's a ton of metrics and data points saying he is not good, especially not this season. He wasn't good last year under LaFleur either. Maybe it's Zach Wilson.
I think it's a combination of him and their offensive coordinator.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
I think that's what it is. I do like the thing that I like about Zach Wilson the most is like his maturity, right, and what he's doing and how he upholds himself on the field and stuff like that, and in the pressers. He does seem to be more. How do you say that? More calm in the pocket, I guess. More relaxed, more comfortable in doing stuff. I don't think he's getting put in a position to succeed, though. When you only try to run bubble screens and stuff like that, when they can only complete passes that are behind the line of scrimmage, they're not taking advantage of the middle of the field outside of the tight end position, and I think that's pretty bad. Kind of hard when you put all of your ducks in a row, all your chips in the table for a quarterback, and you have to bring in his offensive coordinator because he won't work with anybody else. We saw that offensive coordinator could not call plays and had never called plays before, apparently, until last year. And Russell Wilson's doing pretty fine. I'd like to see Zach Wilson just get a new start somewhere else, right? And then see what he can do going forward or whatever like that.
Yeah, maybe the third OC is the charm for Zach Wilson.
Yeah, it worked for Alex Smith.
So what I'm doing to finish mine off, Nathaniel Hackett's still there.
Yeah.
The Jets are starting Nick Boyle or Tim Boyle, whatever his name is. That's not appealing. He's a 29-year-old journeyman who hasn't thrived anywhere. I think the Jets will lean on the run, so maybe you get an uptick in Breece Hall usage, but I'm sticking a fork in the Jets. Rodgers isn't coming back. If you can bet no, DK won't let you, but if you can somewhere, bet no on that one. They're not making any kind of push for the playoffs.
Yeah, no, not whatsoever. And next year, even if Rodgers comes back and stuff like that, I think the team's still going to fucking stink. So bet the under on total wins. But my next one is going to be, I labeled it Bye Christian Watson, everybody's fantasy love child. I have no clue. We talked about it in the preseason when we're talking about wide receiver rankings and where he aligns with him and Dobbs being on the field simultaneously and what it looks like when Dobbs is off the field.
Sure.
But it's gotten even worse because you got Wicks, Dobbs, Reed, Musgrave. They all ended up with 6 targets. They passed the ball 38 times. There was 38 targets in this game. Christian Watson got 4 of them. Wicks, Dobbs, Reed, and Musgrave all got 6. A.J. Dillon had 4 targets as well. So he's tied with his backup running back who only got those targets because their starting running back got hurt. He had 2 catches for 21 yards on 4 targets, but God, everybody's going to hype up why you should pick up Christian Watson because you see him catch a touchdown, corner of the end zone. He's the guy near the goal line. Shut up. Christian Watson is dead. He's dead in this offense. He can't stay healthy. He won't stay healthy. And everybody else has elevated themselves above him. Dobbs is the number 1 receiver. We're seeing Wicks get involved. Reed is becoming probably the number 2. Him, Musgrave, something like that in that offense. There's only so many mouths to feed. You don't want to be throwing the ball 38 times a game. And that's only 38 targets. That's not how many passing attempts they had when you factor in sacks and, rushes and stuff like that by the quarterback. So, no matter what anybody tells you, don't worry about Christian Watson. If there's someone out there in Dynasty that allow you to trade him away, maybe you're past the trade deadline in your league right now, but if you're in Dynasty or Keepers, you could trade him away at the end of the season because people believe in him long term. I don't think it's there, and I don't think it's ever going to be there unless he goes somewhere else, and he's going to be the odd man out because these other dudes have been balling all year, and they're available.
I'm going to run some quick numbers here. That's, what do we got? 38. There's 4 targets. That's a 10.5% target share.
10.5.
That's not going to get it done.
Yeah. And it takes 38 passes for you
to get there.
Get 4 targets, right? So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Sell him if you can.
Yeah.
Final one here for me probably goes hand in hand with the first lesson learned. It's about parity a little in that NFL teams are not as bad on their worst days and probably not as good as they might seem on their best days. The Jacksonville Jaguars entered Week 10 sitting at 6-2 in cruise control for the AFC South and possibly a first-round bye. They got smoked by your San Francisco 49ers, and people legit were writing them off. They just handed Tennessee their asses on the finest of China, Nate, to the tune of a 34-14 blowout. Jacksonville controlled the ball 36 minutes to Tennessee's 23. They outrushed the Titans by 30 yards, outpassed the Titans by 150 yards, crushed them in every statistical category, even got Calvin Ridley a ceiling game right. That's pretty rare this season. What I'm doing, obviously starting the main cast, Lawrence, Etienne, Kirk, Ridley, maybe Zay Jones in a deeper league, but also looking at their schedule. You got Houston coming up, Cincinnati, Cleveland, Baltimore, Tampa, Carolina, and Tennessee. I'm placing a few bets. So they're at 7 wins.
Yep.
Jacksonville regular season win totals over 11.5 at plus 115. Jacksonville's the number 1 seed is plus 800 for the AFC. If you think they'll falter and lose the division, Houston is plus 235 to take the division, in which case I would recommend coupling that bet with Houston over 9.5 regular season wins. That's minus 150.
Yep.
At various sports books. Not going to name one in particular, but at
Yep.
various sports books right now.
Yeah. I think those are good ways to do. I've been listening to a lot of guys talking about how adjusted win totals in season, right? This never used to really be a thing until we got like online sports books in the US and then it became a thing and a lot more places started offering it. But more so if, the differences between what's the better number, like a certain team to win games, like them to win a division or them to win as an underdog or a team to win the division and them to win as a favorite. What are the differences in prices and stuff like that going forward? Same thing with adjusted win totals. Okay, if they have to get there, you're better off just betting. You'll make more if you just bet like the individual games, I guess you would say. Money lines or whatever it is on the closer games that they have to win, but you believe they'll win. There's a bunch of like different theories to that, but I like that adjusted win total stuff. That stuff's so fascinating and fun. So, good stuff there. Pulling in the sports books. I like that. My last one is going to be Jonathan Mingo. Look, he's on the Carolina Panthers. They stink. They drafted the wrong quarterback. I mean, they got a smaller Kyler Murray out there who can't throw the ball like Kyler Murray. We talked we talked about Bryce Young earlier after the draft. Maybe it was me and Terrence, but we were talking about it, and like his deep ball, it dies. Like his velocity drops so much on the deep ball, and you can't have that in the NFL, and that's where you're going to get all these 3 picks to the Dallas Cowboys and have some guy tying the record for most pick sixes in a season. Jesus, and you'd think it'd be Diggs, and he's not even on the team right now. He's on the team, but he's hurt. But Bland over here with 4 pick sixes, getting ready to break the record over 7 games, and Bryce Young just throws picks because he can't see and he can't throw. He's just not that great. Good high school, good college. It's going to be really tough for him to succeed in the NFL. Seems to be a good guy, a winner. He's going to do everything he can, whatever like that. But at some point you got to be 6 foot. So, but Jonathan Mingo, he plays a position and a role in this offense that demands attention, and we've seen it all year. The production hasn't been there from catches and completed passes in this offense from the quarterback, but he ended up with another 6 targets against the Cowboys this year. He's getting anywhere from 4 to 8 targets a game. I mean, it's everywhere that he's being able to, get opportunities to touch the ball. Whether they stick with Bryce Young or they draft a quarterback or they trade for somebody in the future, Jonathan Mingo is going to be a focal point of this offense. Adam Thielen's nice right now, but he's basically retired. He retired in the offseason, I believe it was, and then came back. No clue. Like, everybody thought he was just done, playing football. Because why would you leave Minnesota? Like, you kind of had it nice there. But Jonathan Mingo needs to be owned in Dynasty. If for some reason people are dropping him because they're adding other people that they want to flyer and they don't believe in Bryce Young, or go out and trade for him in the offseason. You could probably trade one of your later picks because people are going to say, oh, like if you only have 3 rounds in your rookie draft or you have 5 rounds or 6 rounds, whatever it may be, you can give up one of the, your last round pick for the guy more than likely because someone's going to go and look, oh, he was the wide receiver 212 on the season or whatever crazy number that there is, right? No touchdown, whatever it is. They're like, yeah, whatever. I'll take a pick and get a new guy because this isn't it, right? And I think that's wrong. Whether or not he stays with the Carolina Panthers, they bring in somebody else. Jonathan Mingo's a dude that needs to be owned in all sorts of dynasty, maybe even keepers, but depending on how many keepers you got and where you can keep those guys, right? If you have round penalties. So,
yeah. He's talented, and you look at what they have. There's DJ Chark's not going to be there much longer. Thielen got a year or 2 left maybe, and Terrace Marshall, for whatever reason, they just don't like giving him the ball, getting him involved. So Mingo's probably the guy unless they bring someone else in, right?
Yep. Let's review some trade deadline trades that we had. So we're going to go over 3 trades that we were either involved in or seen around our leagues. We got one that is in redraft, one that is in a keeper league, and one that is in dynasty. So whether or not you're playing in all formats, we play in all formats. That's what's up. So we're going to go over these guys, and I want to get your opinion on the trade and whether or not they were fair. Somebody got trade raped. And then
Whoa. We don't use that anymore.
Well, we don't use rape anymore? Like, just because Roethlisberger's out of the league? Like,
yes,
Jesus.
it's Big Ben. He did this to us.
Big Ben did it to us. Whatever. Yeah. Whether or not somebody got trade raped, because that seems to be a conversation that's going out there. We might get banned from YouTube right now, but I'm not bleeping it because that takes an extra 12 seconds. But we'll start off with the redraft and we'll move down the way to how long you keep in one. So I'll go over what these teams have and then what they traded and got. So in redraft, Team 1, this is a half PPR. Team 1 has Kyler Murray, Jahmyr Gibbs, Tony Pollard, Keenan Allen, A.J. Brown, David Njoku, Terry McLaurin, Devon Achane. And Team 2 had Joe Burrow, Alvin Kamara, Joe Mixon, Tyreek Hill, Amon-Ra St. Brown, George Kittle, Cortland Sutton, Aaron Jones. That's the starting lineup that's projected. Bench players didn't really have a role in this. But Team 1, sitting there with David Njoku, trades for Trey McBride and gives up Trevor Lawrence because Team 2 had lost Joe Burrow, obviously, on Thursday night, needed a quarterback, had Trey McBride and George Kittle. Do you think this was a fair trade? Do you think it was justified by both teams? How do you see it going forward?
Anytime we talk about fantasy trades, I'm going to preface it. One of the worst things you can do as a fantasy commissioner is leaving trades up for a league vote. The reason why is twofold. One, people don't want to see good teams get better, and they'll often veto a trade just to spite the manager that they perceive as getting better, and they'll often just straight up vote against it. The other reason is that the way people view players' value, it varies so widely, and that's what we saw in this one. I'm not sure if you're going to speak to it, but in leagues that I manage, I keep the trade review up to the commissioner. If it's collusion is very clear, I'll reverse the trade and then usually kick that guy out. No one has time for that shit. But for this trade, what was this trade again? This was the
Trey McBride.
Yeah. So I got him out of order here. I thought it was a fair trade. Tight end, very thin position as far as consistent options go. And that's what McBride has become the last 4 or 5 weeks. Pretty much since Ertz went down. T-Law, he did have a great game this past week, but you're rarely going to get, multiple rushing touchdowns from him. So again, I think this was a fair trade.
Yeah, I felt it was fair as well. Just 2 guys going out of, hey, you got strength and I need something. You need something. Obviously, it was kind of perfect opportune time on a Thursday night. Luckily, one of the teams had, 2 tight ends to be able to give up one of them, and then the other guy had 2 quarterbacks. So word on the street is that the guy who ended up with Trevor Lawrence made trades to damn near everybody who had 2 quarterbacks in the league, and people had a problem with it, and they apparently don't check their trades because they're looking for fair trade offers, and they were offered George Kittle for their second quarterback. So, by the way, I'm team 2. So, trade number 2, keeper league. So, team 1 lineup, you got Lamar Jackson, Raheem Mostert, David Montgomery, Nico Collins, Keenan Allen, Deebo Samuel, Evan Ingram, and Jordan Addison, while team 2 has Josh Dobbs, Jalen Warren, Jerome Ford, A.J. Brown, Stephon Diggs, Deontay Johnson, Luke Musgrave, at tight end, and Chris Godwin. Team 1 ends up receiving Devontae Adams and Dalton Schultz, and Team 2 ends up receiving Mark Andrews. This was prior to Thursday night, prior to the injury happening in a keeper league.
Hours.
Hours before it ended up happening. So Team 1, maybe displaces Jordan Addison with Devontae Adams, Dalton Schultz, Evan Ingram, kind of, on par with each other, but look at what can happen possibly for Dalton Schultz if he re-signs with the Texans. Mark Andrews, obviously, going for a team that looks like they may end up being in contention for a championship, right? With Jerome Ford, Jalen Warren, A.J. Brown, Stephon Diggs, Josh Dobbs playing well. So your thoughts on this, whether or not it was fair or not, and your thoughts on it going forward. Obviously, Andrews is hurt, so it sucks right now, but in a keeper format, I believe in this league, you're able to keep 6 players with no penalties.
This trade should be overturned immediately. Can we contact the commissioner's office? I was the team that received Mark Andrews. It's a 5-man keeper. So this should mostly be viewed as Adams for Andrews. I don't believe Schultz would be a keeper for either team, receiving him or keeping him. Sucks Andrews went out, but again, having a reliable top 5 tight end in this league has been very beneficial. Usually those are your contenders, definitely your playoff teams, but those are your teams competing for a championship. Just having that positional advantage, and I think Andrews will be that. I believe they said he might even come back this year. Ravens are going to be, making a playoff run, so he has time. I think he's like a broken bone and like some ligament damage.
Yeah.
Fair trade, though. I think this was fair. I didn't include that.
Hold on here. I'm getting something. From the producers, ligaments, important to play in the tight end position. I don't. It seems like a fair.
He has 2 ankles.
Fair assessment. And
he's got 2 of them.
Yeah.
He's got 2 ankles, Nate.
I like this trade because it was kind of fun. Like, you don't see a top end tight end getting, pushed, and then Devontae Adams on kind of a down year. But what's that going to look like going forward? Still not the number one option on the team.
And for me, I have Diggs, I have A.J. Brown, I like Chris Godwin, but like Adams, I'm not keeping 4 receivers. I need a tight end, I need a running back in there. Having all receivers, that's what I've been doing in this league, and I've been struggling to, fight for a playoff position. So I just trying to change things up.
Yep. In a dynasty, Team 1 has Justin Fields, Breece Hall, Travis Etienne, Jamar Chase, Marquise Brown, DJ Moore, David Njoku, and Devonta Smith. While Team 2 is starting Jared Goff, Jerome Ford, David Montgomery, Devontae Adams, Nico Collins, Rashee Rice, Kyle Pitts, and Ramondre Stevenson. Team 1 ends up receiving DK Metcalf, while Team 2 receives Brian Robinson, a 2025 first-round pick as well. Your thoughts on this trade?
Thought it was a fair trade. I would say Matt has a need at wide receiver, but he doesn't at wide receiver. He does not. Mm-hmm. I don't even think he can start Metcalf right now. He has that many other options. Yep. But I think he's trying to sell high. He thinks he's selling high in Brian Robinson. He assumes he's going to be like a top 3, top 4 team next year, 2024. So his 2025 pick would be high, like 10, 11, 12 area. Yep. So I think this is just like how he valued that pick versus Metcalf. He probably thinks he's going to get 6-7 years out of Metcalf. That's my guess. But I thought it was fair. There was no reason to gripe over this one.
Yeah, I'm Team 2 in this trade when I gave up DK Metcalf and received Brian Robinson in a first. In all honesty, I accidentally accepted this trade while going in to approve someone else's trade because I couldn't do it in the app. So I went into the thing, and apparently it was already approved because in this league, we have 4 leagues that were combined to create a dynasty to see who's the best of the best or whatever like that, right? So we have 4 commissioners in the league for the listening audience out there. But we have been going back and forth a little bit. He offered me Brian Robinson and another running back. I forget who it was. For DK Metcalf, I replied back with, I'll take Brian Robinson and a 2024 first for DK Metcalf because he's bottom end of the league. I think he's like 3rd or 4th from the bottom in the league. Yeah. And I figured that I'd be able to parlay like that pick and another pick to be able to move up in the draft and go grab Marvin Harrison Jr. And when he sent this back to me with the next year's pick, I figured that was because he wanted to draft Marvin Harrison Jr. as well. He's an Ohio State guy, and he's looking like he's going to have maybe like the 3rd pick overall, right? So quarterbacks or a running back comes out that's heavy. You know, you never know what you're going to be able to do and make some moves. So, which is weird because he has all these wide receivers, but he's going to be loaded to be able to make a lot of trades and create draft capital. He's done a good job with that. But I thought it was fair. Even after I hit it, I was like, okay, I'm cool with another year first, right? Like every year we value the draft class so much that we're going into and what it's going to be like, right? Same thing we did with like Bijan Robinson and Jackson Smith and Jigba, all these dudes, and it's like Jahmyr Gibbs is really just the dude who deserves to be drafted, or Laporta and Musgrave. So you never know what it's going to be like. Draft capital does do well going forward or whatever like that. I was kind of hoping to tank in this league a little bit, but still put out a good roster, right? That shows that I'm trying and guys that I believe in. And I think I almost accidentally won this last week, and I think I just lost. So shout out to Rashee Rice for not catching a bunch of passes. But I thought it was fair. It kind of puts me in a hole with Brian Robinson, Jerome Ford for this season. What do I do going forward? Because I think the Browns are going to end up running the hell out of the ball, and Jerome Ford's going to get a lot of runs. So we'll see how that is. Let us know in the comments down below YouTube, or if you're on Spotify or Apple, let us know what you think of these trades. And have you dealt with any crazy trades in your leagues that you think are crazy and people got, TR'd or they got taken advantage of? Or do you believe in leagues being able to veto and all that kind of stuff? Because we're firmly against it. Tony's outlined some things why, and in the offseason we'll talk about some of the stuff when we talk about structuring leagues and rules and all that kind of stuff, to prepare you for fantasy football and all this stuff going forward. So things you may not be thinking about, but let us know who won trades. What do you think going forward? What crazy trades have you seen in your leagues before the trade deadline? Let's move on to a fantasy football draft, and we're in honor of all this stuff that people think are bad trades. We got lambasted about the Trey McBride, Trevor Lawrence, and maybe we'll talk about that later. Maybe we won't. I don't know. We're going to talk the top 5 worst NFL trades impacting today's NFL. Tony, would you like the first pick or the second pick?
I've been taking the first pick. I'm just going to keep up with that theme.
Cool.
All right. Imagine for a moment, Nate, you're a professional football team and you send 3 first-round draft picks and a third-round pick away to trade for the North Dakota State quarterback. That's Trey Lance. If the team wasn't already loaded and didn't absolutely hit on the last pick of that draft with Brock Purdy, I think Shanahan and Lynch would have been shit-canned by now. Just a bad trade. So my first pick, the Trey Lance deal. The only reason they're still afloat is because of Brock Purdy and how loaded that roster is.
Yeah. Brock Purdy.
Any other team, they're buried.
Yeah, shout out to Brock Purdy's brother who started for Nebraska this last week. I think they got a W. That dude's balling out too, so maybe it just runs in the family, Some of those that first pick that they gave up that year ended up turning into Micah Parsons by the Cowboys. So kind of crazy. The Dolphins did a lot of wheeling and dealing, got a lot of good players out of that. Most of their roster that they have that we like today is based off of that trade with those 4 picks that they got. So good one there. My one is, I'm going to go with the 2020 DeAndre Hopkins. He was traded to Arizona for David Johnson, basically just straight up. They got a second rounder as well for that. But the Texans might have thought that David Johnson was Andre Johnson. I don't know. Maybe they had it mixed up. Maybe they're confused, but he stunk. And basically they left Deshaun Watson with nobody but his masseuses and his massage therapy and the rest of that history is still being written today. I'll take D-Hop in 2020. Shout out to Bill O'Brien. You're doing great things. Doing great things up there in New England.
I love seeing him yell at Mac Jones. Good. Just getting in his ass.
Yeah, that one was really good. So I'll take that one. And then I'm going to go. Okay, I'm going to go with Carson Wentz being traded to the Colts by the Philadelphia Eagles for a 2021 third and a conditional 2022 first round pick. So
those conditions weren't met, were they, Nate?
They were met because he played 75. He played 75% of the season that year. He went 9-8. in the season, and those conditions were met. So the Philadelphia Eagles got a first-round pick.
Who'd they draft?
Year. So after that first year, though, I'll get there, Tony. I'll get there, right? Jesus Christ.
So excited.
You're like my damn children. Like, skip the ad. But he was traded to Washington the following year because they didn't like what he did. So the Eagles parlayed the third-round pick with a 2021 first, sent it to the Cowboys, and they drafted Devonta Smith with that pick. After a bunch of other trades with the Colts again for Matt Pryor and the Saints for a bunch of pick swapping, the Eagles ended up using that Colts first rounder and a third to get A.J. Brown off the Titans. The Eagles wide receiver room, as we know it, was traded for Carson Wentz.
Hilarious.
Dude, the guy's still making an impact today. And, he's out there in Los Angeles doing his thing, as a backup and everything like that. Maybe.
Is it GM Howie? Is it Howie Roseman?
Yeah.
Do you think he got Employee of the Month after he landed those receivers?
Dude, Jesus Christ. That dude's so good at wheeling and dealing. But maybe Carson Wentz's, career will be revived by the worst head coach in all of football in Sean McVay and one of the worst play callers of all time. So,
yeah. All right. I had both of those on my list. Those were good ones. This next one, though, really, really rubs me the wrong way. The Cleveland Browns traded for Deshaun Watson a season ago, giving up a 2022 first. There's one. 2023 first, that's 2. 2024 first, that's 3. Also sprinkled in a 2023 third and a 2024 fourth. Cleveland did get a 5th in 24 back from Houston in that deal, but my God, all of that draft capital, and the Browns had to pay Watson that contract, right? Mm-hmm. $230 million in guaranteed money. Watson, to this point, the best part, he's missed 22 of the 34 games he will have been eligible for once the season wraps. He's done for the year. So not great.
Yeah.
Very, very bad trade.
Not looking great. Another team that is has a great defense and could be a real contender in the AFC, but lacking quarterback production. I don't know. Never mind.
Okay.
I can't.
All right.
Yep.
I got my next one. I understand teams selling out, just like the Browns did, at the opportunity to land a franchise quarterback, just like the 49ers did, because they think they're in their window and just need, that one piece. Tampa did it with Tom Brady. The Rams did it with Matthew Stafford. Hell, this team did it with Peyton Manning years ago, right? The Broncos giving up 2 firsts, 2 seconds, a 5th, defensive tackle Shelby Harris, a couple of other pieces, Noah Fant, Drew Lock, for Russell Wilson. Hefty price tag. And he was like in his mid-30s. Mm-hmm. So maybe you get 4 years at elite play, but definitely the back end of his career. But hefty price tag, and they shipped out some vets with Sean Payton coming in. So it's going to be that much harder basically to rebuild this or build this the way they want. Losing that draft capital, losing those veterans, and having a quarterback who's really at the tail end of his career.
Yeah. Yeah, that was pretty bad. But Mr. Unlimited, so...
Sean Payton is calmed down on a lot of that, thankfully.
Yeah, that's nice. They're playing pretty damn good football, and it's coming together, and it's kind of nice to see Russell Wilson out there leading a team. So they're not going to win the AFC West this year, like I predicted, and not go 14-3. But
no.
Look, man, you were a Cowboys fan for a long time. There's always next year, right? Next year's our year.
Next year.
Oh, man. All right. I'm going to speak of 2 teams that we both spoke about already. So, one being in 2012, the Washington Redskins traded 3 first-round picks and a second. Whoa. No, they were the Washington Redskins. They traded 3 first-round picks and a second-round pick to the Rams because they already had Sam Bradford as their franchise quarterback before sending him to Minnesota. They traded him for the rights to draft Heisman winner RG3, Robert Griffin III. You may see him on television from time to time, right? Now he's got his own podcast too. And we started a movement here, Tony. They also took Kirk Cousins in this draft, just 2 rounds later. And by the end of the year, Kirk Cousins was starting because RG3 hurt his knee, and Kirk is Kirk. Well, as we know him right now. And RG3 is making TikToks to leave the booth and play football again. Weird move to publicly apply for a job to the entire world while employed on the national stage. The wildest thing, saying, basically putting his application on social media and saying, you need to be in that locker room, hire me to play football, this, like, you got a job. Like, I would never be at my work, just on the phone so my boss can hear me saying, hey, you guys got any positions open over there? Like, I could do everything you guys need, or whatever like that. And if you don't need that, like, I'll do whatever you want me to do. Like, get the fuck out of here. RG3, 3 firsts, and a second. Yeah. The Rams used all that to build a team later on, apparently. So,
was Aaron Donald one of those picks?
I think so. Yeah. Yep. My next one, since you brought up the Browns, we'll bring up the Browns again. So in 2013, after running for nearly 1,000 yards and 11 touchdowns in his rookie season, Trent Richardson was traded from the Cleveland Browns to the Indianapolis Colts for a first-round pick, and everybody was like, what? The Browns would trade this guy away for only one pick, like a first-round pick? The guy just ran for like 1,000 yards in his rookie season, 11 touchdowns. And then he stunk for the next 2 years before being cut. You'd think, hey, Browns, they make out. They got a first-round pick for a guy who's going to stink, but you know who they ended up drafting with that pick? Johnny Football himself.
Yeah.
Johnny Manziel. So it's a double loss for both of these teams, and it's one of my favorites. So Trent Richardson.
That's bad. That is really bad.
And now the Browns are still looking for a quarterback.
Oh, God. That's going to happen for like the rest of all eternity.
Yeah.
All right, last two for me. Nate, are you a fan of first-round picks?
I love first-round picks.
Yeah. Imagine giving up not one, but 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and a very talented wide receiver in DJ Moore for a 4 foot, 19 inches tall quarterback. That's precisely what the Carolina Panthers did, handing the Bears just that haul that should set them up pretty nicely in their rebuild window over there. They're probably going to get one of those quarterbacks, Caleb Williams or is it Drake May. They're getting one of those guys, maybe even Marvin Harrison, depending on where the Bears and Carolina finish this season. But terrible, terrible move because I don't think Bryce Young is that guy. I think you mentioned that earlier.
Yeah. Well, Carolina can't get him, so that kind of sucks. Carolina can't get the quarterback because they don't have a first rounder. But.
Yep. Oh, no. I was talking about Chicago.
Oh, yeah.
Final one for me. Antonio Brown was incredible for the Hard Knocks content creators. The year the Raiders had him, he gave that team multiple talking points during that preseason highlight on the show.
Yep.
Antonio Brown made a terrible trade asset because Las Vegas or Oakland at the time gave up a 3rd and 5th round pick for essentially someone who never played a regular season. I think they cut him in the preseason. I think he did play 1 game in 2019, but it was for New England. So terrible deal. And please be aware of what CTE can do to a person.
I wrote down that because I had that one too, right? That they traded for him after he quit on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then from frostbite foot to refusing to wear the required helmet, they finally released him. They could probably use some picks right now.
The shit show. The NFL scriptwriters did great that offseason. That was fun. It was a wild ride, but yeah, terrible trade.
Yep. I don't want to pick on the Bears too much because it's too easy to pick on the Bears. And
Trubisky, do it.
It's too easy. But in 2007, the Dolphins traded Wes Welker to the New England Patriots for a 2nd and a 7th round pick. Little did they know that old Tom Brady would make wide receivers a thing in the NFL, and Welker would lead the league in receptions for 3 years and be a 5-time Pro Bowler. He was like a special teams guy basically on that team, that Miami Dolphins team. How this really affects the game is now the New England Patriots still think that they can just have nobody wide receivers who can maybe run over the middle, be super small, not be able to jump and win ball games. And now we can't roster any receivers on the New England Patriots for fantasy football. Wes Welker is my last one.
Shout out Wes Welker. He's I think he's a wide receiver coach in the NFL now.
Yep.
Doing good things in Miami.
Yep. 2 Pats. Yep. All right. The only other one I had was Mitch Trubisky, so that was going to be my next one. So, but it was mostly just because they traded so many picks away to move up
4 or 5 picks just to move up. Yep.
1 spot and traded with the Niners. Got him. Nah.
We were going to draft him anyways.
Yeah. Like, have you seen this Mahomes guy? He's pretty good. We don't want him. We'll maybe get Mahomes later on.
That is the worst part of that whole thing. Could have had Mahomes.
Or Deshaun Watson.
Change your franchise. Or Deshaun Watson, yeah, for sure.
You know, like, you never know what could have happened. So, to recap our top 5 worst drafts or trades in the NFL that are impacting today's game. Tony, you got Trey Lance, 49ers trade, Deshaun Watson to the Browns, Russell Wilson to the Broncos, Bryce Young move up for the Carolina Panthers, getting rid of DJ Moore. He's kind of good at football. Antonio Brown to the Raiders and his frostbite foot for not wearing the proper shoes in a whatever those chambers are called. What are they?
Cryo chamber.
In a cryo chamber. Jesus Christ. I had D-Hop getting traded straight up for David Johnson in a second round pick. Carson Wentz to the Colts, and then being shipped off anyways. So there was that. RG3. RG3 3 firsts and a second. With the Redskins, Trent Richardson traded to the Colts for a first rounder that turned into Johnny Manziel. Bad trade for both teams. And Wes Welker to the New England Patriots from the Miami Dolphins. Who would have known that white guys had hope in the National Football League at the wide receiver position? Let us know in the comments what you think the worst NFL trade of all time is that maybe impacts today's game. You can go back a little bit farther if you want. There's some stuff out there that's pretty far out and who won the draft. So, or any other insights on how many of those picks got turned around. It's bad. It's hard to figure out the Eagles ones, and the Dolphins did with the Trey Lance picks. Like that, there's a lot that happened there. So if you want to break that all down and get scientific, thanks. Appreciate it. Do it in the comments below. Rants or raves, Tony? You got any rants or raves?
I do. Okay. I absolutely do. It's a rant. It's about the motherfucker who fucked up my passenger side door in the parking lot today. Nate mentioned it was windy. No shit, it was windy. Hold your goddamn door. I held my door when I opened my car door this morning, and then again when I went to get into my car because I'm not an asshole. The worst part is, Nate, they didn't leave a note. The worst part is that I didn't see it until I got home. So 2-month-old car that I bought new car for me, massive fucking dent. Like you could tell the wind took their door and just fucking, there's like 3 scrapes and then a massive dent where the car kind of angles a little bit. But I was pissed when my wife saw it in the garage and I was home, didn't get a chance to retaliate. It sucks. Sucks. Pray to God I don't find your silver car. I know what color it was. It's still on my fucking door.
I drive a silver car.
Pretty high.
I don't park over there.
No. This is pretty high. It looks like it was a truck or like an SUV or something. Yeah. From where it got the biggest dent, looks like it was pretty high. So I'll keep my eyes open.
I got out there at like 11:30 today, and I left by like 12:30. So
yeah,
our computers were all down. So
yeah,
I just went and checked to see if they were still down for some reason. But I think I'm going to. This is going to sound like a rant, but it's going to turn into a rave, Tony, because I'm very proud of myself. Nope, I'm not going to do that. I was going to talk about this trade thing that happened because what sparked this whole conversation and today's episode was I made that trade for Trevor Lawrence trading off Trey McBride, right? We're at the end of the season. You're not playing 2 quarterbacks. You're not playing both your tight ends. Like, whatever, right? Like, you make your team better. Someone in our league wrote, Trevor Lawrence for Trey fucking McBride. Does that seem like a fair trade to anybody? And then me and the guy, we went and, blasted this dude or whatever like that. And he just said it's not an even trade on any site in an alternate reality and all this kind of stuff. Then decides to post screenshots from a different league where Trevor Lawrence is scoring. Trey McBride is scoring 30-something fantasy points in these games, and Trevor Lawrence is scoring 58 points a game and is season ranked 21. If you play in a league with fucking quarterbacks that are 21th ranked, scoring 58 points, we made the jokes in private text messages about how maybe they get a point per inch of length of hair that your quarterback has for every time that it blows in the wind and all this kind of stuff, right? And I made a big old thing about it. I said a bunch of nasty stuff because I was sitting in the airport by myself at the wee hours of the night just trying to enjoy a Formula One race, which was phenomenal, by the way. Las Vegas Grand Prix. I don't know if you watched it and stayed up for it, but it was fantastic. One of the best races on the entire year. So, but I would like to say that I'm proud of myself, and this is why I want to rant about myself, because I've learned that I'm learning some self-awareness throughout this whole process and throughout this night, because I was texting the guy I traded with, and we're bashing this dude back and forth, and he goes, honestly, I think I'm the funniest person alive. He's like, I'm not, but at least I think myself this way. He was pretty hammered, drunk, and texting funny stuff and back and forth about what maybe where these Trevor Lawrence points come from. And I wrote, I'm spiteful and I have a lot of hate in me. So when this shit happens, I do my best to ease myself into making someone want to quit life. I said, this is my toxic trait and I'm proud of it. But I would like to give myself a pat in the back for being able to recognize and have the self-awareness that I am spiteful and I try to say the meanest things to cut people down and make them feel bad about being a human being. I would like to pat myself on the back. Congratulations, Nate. You are growing. #growth. But really what I want to rave about is also some more growth in me, Tony, because today I may have ripped the back of my pants. I didn't know this until I went to take a shower after I got home from work today. And I'm taking a shower and I go and I'm like, I was like, whatever, checking the pockets and stuff like that in the back. Maybe I got a receipt in there, stopped at the gas station or whatever. Sure. And I look and right next to the back pocket of my left butt cheek towards the middle of the pants, it's just a gash. I mean, you could fit one of those, it's the Christmas season coming up right now, but you can fit one of those Reese's Christmas tree peanut butter cups right in there and it fit perfectly. Never knew anything like this happened, right? I don't know how long it's been there. It might have been there for more than one wash. But lately I've been like gaining weight and I've been noticing it and I feel it and I step on a scale and I'm like, Jesus, like what happened here? Well, I figured out what happened, Tony, because just before we recorded here, fourth quarter, the game's going on. I got it on the TV. I'm hungry. I hadn't eaten dinner yet. Well, I have over the last like week and a half killed an entire like Costco, Sam's Club box of these. It's Captain Crunch with the Christmas berries in it or whatever. It's like $5.50 for like 2 whole things of cereal or whatever like that.
Yeah, man.
I fucking love Captain Crunch, and these berry ones with the Christmas colors are fucking phenomenal. I've killed the whole case thing. I just eat cereal, but I was really hungry. So
it's a lot of sugar.
Yeah, it's probably going straight to my tits. But what made me think of this was I was like, man, my pants just ripped today. Whatever, I put on some sweatpants, move on, right? And then I'm sitting there, fourth quarter of the game, like, I'm so hungry, and I'm not going to go into the record of this being hungry. So I am going to eat something. And I was like, looking in the fridge. Oh, I guess I'll make me a burrito, right? So I got some eggs, I got some bacon out, I got a handful of cheese and stuff like that. Throw some salsa that I made earlier in there and roll up a whole burrito. I got this massive Chipotle-sized breakfast burrito, and I crushed it. And then I'm watching. There's like 3 minutes left in this game. Mahomes got the ball back or whatever like that. The Eagles kind of stuttered and everything like that. And then I go and I'm like, God damn it, I'm still hungry. So I go into the freezer and I got this box because the kids like eating these like Hungry Jack frozen waffles. They're like Eagle waffles, right? But at Sam's Club, they had this big old pack of like 60 of them. So I decided to throw 4 of those bitches in a toaster, covered in syrup and powdered sugar. And as I'm sitting there eating this depressing meal and the game's ending, I'm like, I just figured it out why I'm getting fat. Good job, Nate. Self-awareness. We'll see where it takes us, but I just want to give myself a pat on the back because it's been a weird weekend. A lot of crazy stuff going on out in the world. Not real. I don't know. I don't pay attention to the world. I'm getting hate messages on the Twitter X from God is a Parasite. Shout out to you at God is a Parasite. Everybody should go follow at God is a Parasite on Twitter and say congrats on making the show. So yeah, welcome to my life.
Jesus.
Yep.
Well, one, I need to get a look at this ass one of these days.
It's like 2 Christmas hams.
2, if you want to get a little active, we got some pickleball sessions coming up this week.
Yeah, I'll probably be out there Wednesday night.
All right.
So
All right.
I'll be out there Wednesday.
Weather should be nice. All right.
Sure. It's supposed to be like 31 degrees that day or something like that.
Nah, not Wednesday. Wednesday we're in the 60s. Check it.
Oh, no way. No
Check.
way. It's
Check
snowing.
it.
My Doppler says it's snowing right now. Yeah, it's supposed to be 64. Let you guys know if you're not in Colorado. Right now, 100% chance of snow. It's snowing outside. High of 41, low of 34. Then it goes to 52 tomorrow, and then 68 or 64, and then Thursday, 48, and then Friday, 27 in snow, and then it's in the 20s. Yeah.
Yep.
You want to know why I get pissed off and I want to end people's lives for bitching about trades, Tony? That's it. So
Colorado weather. Yeah.
anyways, thanks for listening to the show. You can follow all of our socials at TacoCorp Sports. They're all linked down in the descriptions, whether you're on podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, wherever you're iHeart. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're on iHeart, but go tell them we need the show. We actually control putting it there, and I don't know if we do, but leave us a review in Spotify and in Apple. Let us know what you guys want to hear, what you think of the show, how it goes, how it flows, and whether or not the co-host deserves to be on next week or not. We'll take your feedback very, very seriously, and then make improvements as we go. And then leave us a comment on YouTube. Let us know
if this episode gets 5 likes on YouTube. Nate is going to share a picture of his ass.
I'll share.
We decided that pre-show.
I don't care. I'll show my ass right now. Manchester. I can't Manchester myself. So, but yeah, and be a friend, tell a friend, share it with your dad. Dads love podcast. Dads love podcasts on YouTube as well too. So they can watch the video. Like, this is
science.
I had to listen to the damn transistor to get this kind of stuff going on. Anyways, Tony, any last words for the audience?
Happy Thanksgiving. If you don't listen to another episode before Thursday, eat some good food, hang out with friends, family. Have a good one.
Yep. Happy Thanksgiving. I'm thankful for you, Tony. I'm going to bleep that part out. So anyways, banger of the week. It's just been stuck in my head all day. I don't know what it is. It came on. I was listening to Jonas Brothers Radio on Spotify. Don't ask me why. I'm just in one of those moods. Bangers left and right. But we're going to go with Nick Jonas, Jealous. It's just a cool song. Has nothing to do with anything about people being jealous about our trades and having to post 58-point Trevor Lawrence screenshots of their game logs. For Tony, I am Nate. TacoCorp episode 118, week 11 recap. It's in the books. Love you. Bye.
Haters going to hate.
Haters gonna hate. If drinking margaritas and listening to Katy Perry makes me...
Who wants to be straight? Not me. Not me, Dave.